So Nvidia has two pretty big and significant GPU releases coming very soon. I'm going to tell you what the GPUs are, why you may want them, and the date supposedly that they're going to be launching. Now, this isn't an RTX 2060, don't worry. These are GPUs you may actually want. And if you're building a PC, remember to check out today's sponsor if you need a CD key for Windows 10. Now, this is also going to work for Windows 11. They're still running their special from Black Friday where you're going to get 35% off with my code CC20. You can get CD keys, they have Office keys, but primarily Windows 10 Pro, really awesome. And remember, it's great because you apply it to Windows 11 whenever you upgrade to that without any issues. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Remember to subscribe if you like GPUs. Smash that like button if you really like GPUs. I like GPUs. So let's talk about some GPUs today. Nvidia is releasing two pretty significant GPUs in my opinion. Now, it's not going to be the RTX 2060 with 12 gigabytes of VRAM that recently was supposedly released, even though there doesn't seem to be any really solid listing information. Pricing, we don't know. We've seen a couple things near like $500, but who knows if this GPU was really just a paper launch, if it's going to be some type of like a weird card meant for crypto mining or something like that. All that we know is gamers really can't find it at all, so it's not helping matters in any situation. The idea behind it was that since it's on the 12mm node, it's completely different from what Samsung is doing with the Ampere lineup, so it would free up some of that, manufacturing capability from TSMC and hopefully give us more GPUs, but it doesn't really seem like that's happening at all. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. Today, however, we are going to talk about two very interesting GPUs that are going to be a continuation of sort of the higher end Nvidia GPUs. And unfortunately, no good news in terms of low end SKUs in terms of like $300 and below. Every GPU coming out more or less seems to be really targeted at the very expensive end of the spectrum. While we would love to see maybe some, RTX 3050s or some GPUs that people can actually purchase for more budget builds, I don't really think we're going to get anywhere near that point until perhaps maybe Intel enters the fray with their, entry level, more budget GPUs and really sort of puts a lot of competitive pressure on both Nvidia and AMD. AMD's released a couple things like the 6600, but it really hasn't been enough to quell any sort of, thirst in sort of the budget realm. Those GPUs are often found for well over $500, even at local stores. Not even talking about scalper pricing, because I guess even crypto miners have seen that they're very efficient in terms of their power to hash rate ratio. So they've certainly have sold pretty quickly. So unfortunately, nothing for that budget market. But if you like high-end and very expensive GPUs, you're in luck because that's exactly what Nvidia is continuing to release. So first, we're going to talk about the highest end one, then we'll talk about the other one that maybe more people will be interested in, the 3090 Ti. Now, this GPU doesn't really have too much being different from the existing 3090, aside from, yes, more TDP, meaning more power draw, more heat. It's going to have faster VRAM performance, which for gaming may not really make that big of a difference. It's still going to be 24 gigabytes of VRAM. Remember, it is the very fast GDDR6X VRAM. It's going to be going from about 19 to 21 gigabits per second. So certainly a nice improvement, but nothing really revolutionary. May make a difference in some content creation and even in crypto mining, which definitely likes very fast VRAM. So that could be a little concerning for the price and availability of this GPU. We don't know what the release price will be in terms of its MSRP. We know how fickle MSRP can be, but since the 3090 technically was supposed to be $1499, maybe Nvidia might make it somewhere between $1799 to $1999. But as we all know, especially if this GPU proves to have some pretty crazy, performance in terms of crypto mining, you can expect it to be probably well over $3,000 on the secondhand market, much like the original RTX 3090 is. And we don't really think it's going to be LHR or light hash rate limited. Nvidia seems to keep that particular GPU free from any such limitation, I guess just to open up the possible purchasing market for it even further, just because after all, even though it's a very powerful GPU for many varied applications, it's still extremely expensive. And even if it's very performant, that narrows the amount of people that are willing to buy it. From gamers to content creators, even crypto miners sometimes prefer more efficient and less over-the-top GPUs that cost a significant amount of money. So Nvidia has to keep all of those markets open without really limiting it to any one particular market. Now, they can definitely slap LHR on other GPUs that are more gamer focused, like the one we're going to talk about later today, but in general, the 3090 Ti should be free of any such limitations, making it a very powerful GPU. So now that we know a little background on this GPU, who may perhaps want it, it's either going to be very high-end gamers, some crypto miners that want the ultimate performance, and of course some content creators who also want the ultimate performance. Now, if I found the 3090 versus the 3090 Ti for similar price, of course you take the Ti, but if the price delta is pretty big, the 3090 seems to be 99% of the performance for cheaper money, depending on what it costs on the second hand or the real market when we see it. And then now we get to the question, when is it going to be available? Well, we don't have perhaps the most solid information from Nvidia directly, but we have some pretty good idea. Video Cards, the website, they actually posted that most likely the 3090 Ti is going to be released on January 27th, 2022. So that's only a little bit more than a month away, very soon. So we're going to have to see how that launch goes. So now we've had so many of these GPU launches that I can't even say that I'm, excited or even curious as to how the launch will go, because we know how it's going to go. First day, it's going to be nearly impossible to actually be able to get one of these, especially a 3090 Ti. Definitely going to be very difficult to get. Original 3090 sold out instantly. Same thing is going to happen with this. You're going to be frustrated trying to get it on whatever website. Most likely they may not have in-store drops like Best Buy or something like that, just because it is such a expensive GPU. So now let's point our attention to the next big GPU that Nvidia is releasing, and this one may actually be more interesting for more people. It's going to perhaps take the place of various GPUs in terms of what people actually want. 3070 Ti with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and that's going to be the GDDR6X VRAM, so the fast VRAM. We're not talking about any limitation here in terms of the VRAM speed or the amount. 16 gigabytes is pretty significant for Nvidia. The only thing they have now is the 12 gigabyte 3080 Ti or the 24 gigabyte 3090 at a much more expensive price. To have a 3070 Ti at 16 gigabytes, very interesting move. I think perhaps it's a move really to show a lot of marketing force against AMD's GPUs that all have 16 gigabytes in terms of the RX 6000, as well as to preempt any type of future releases from AMD that may have faster VRAM or larger amounts, like even up to 20 or 24 gigabytes. So very interesting. The 3070 Ti shows a lot about what's happening in the industry, even though performance-wise, most people don't think the 3070 Ti is really going to be all that much better than the regular 3070 Ti, but it could be if you need more VRAM. I think it's mostly in terms of the optics. It just looks better for a GPU that has 16 gigabytes rather than 12 for the everyday buyer, for the person that's perhaps comparing it versus AMD's GPUs. At this point, Nvidia is not worried about competition from anybody else. They've been very dominant in the market. I don't think they think, oh, if we don't release 16 gigabytes, we're not going to sell this GPU because AMD may outsell us with their other GPUs. That's not the case at all. They're going to sell them even if they have less VRAM. It doesn't really matter. But optically, it's nice for them at least to see that they're on top in terms of the technological game, the performance. They still have their company value to be concerned with, and having the more innovative and more advanced products, even if they're still going to sell worse ones anyway, it makes sense for them to at least have the appearance of a technological lead over AMD. You don't want to just be selling in bulk and not really have any technological advantage, because over time when things get a little bit more less crazy with this GPU shortage, it may actually make a difference who has the best products or not, especially because now you're going to have a 3070 Ti GPU which has more VRAM than both a 3080 as well as a 3080 Ti. Two GPUs that are supposedly supposed to be the better GPUs. Now, Nvidia has done this before with the 3060 12 gigabyte versus the 3060 Ti, which has less VRAM but is the more performant GPU in gaming. A lot of people may know that if you're an enthusiast, but regular buyers not going to know that. If they see both on the shelf, they're going to be like, 3060 Ti costs more, but 3060 has 12 gigabytes of VRAM compared to less on the other GPU. Which one is better? At least they're going to be very confused in the best case. In the worst case, they're going to think the 3060 is the better GPU for them. And then by the time they figure out that VRAM is not going to make a big difference in their gaming application, and by the time they figure out that 12 gigabytes of VRAM doesn't really matter too much in a 3060 level GPU, it'll be too late and their gaming performance will be less than on the 3060 Ti. And then finally, when is this GPU supposed to release? Apparently, Nvidia might be making some type of an announcement December 17th, which is very, very close, and it may be released around January 11th, which would be, a little bit earlier than the 27th of January release of a potential 3090 Ti. Now, this is all from videocards.com. Haven't seen anything like officially confirmed or anything like that. It's just supposed dates that these are going to be released. And remember, sometimes Nvidia themselves may change the release or cancel it, like they canceled the 2060 Founders Edition a few days before it actually launched. So this could be up for debate, up for change. Who knows what's going to happen, but at least that's the best information we have at this point. January 11th coming up within a month, so that's very, very close. And this could certainly be a pretty significant GPU because of that 16 gigabytes of VRAM. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, stock and availability, I'm not even going to bring up because it's probably going to be very difficult to get. This is more at this point for like the optics and sort of the marketing message that Nvidia tries to portray with these GPU releases, because it's probably not going to be available in any significant quantity, especially with that much VRAM. 16 gigabytes of VRAM probably makes things harder, not easier, than less VRAM. So stock availability definitely going to be a problematic, and you could probably look for these to be fairly expensive as well. 3070 Ti's are already selling for $1,000 or over MSRP for some, like Asus GPUs and some third-party AIB GPUs. So you can expect this one to be pretty close to the price of an RTX 3080, as well as be LHR like the other GPUs that were released. All right, guys, so let me know what you think. Are you excited for any of these GPUs if they were actually available? I know they're probably going to be impossible to get, but if they were, would you actually get one over what's available now? Let me know what you think. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.